All right, we are live for this Q&A session. It is January 23rd, and this is for the Former Athlete Society. So every Thursday, we're having a Q&A session. It's going to be 10 to 15 minutes long. This is our opportunity to check in every week. As we've progressed, we had the accountability call on Tuesday. That call is really to set us up for a win. We want to win the week, and that Tuesday call allows us to structure our week in sort of a way where we hold each other accountable in this community. So much of this society, this community, is about building on each other's wins. Just like a good teammate hits a shot, you celebrate with him or her. That's us, right? We're going to do the same thing. Hence the reason why on the discussion board at school, SKOO, you can see it in the lower left-hand side, SKOOL.com, Former Athlete Society. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're already in tune, you're onboarded already. However, that said, this is our opportunity to be able to, discuss anything that you might have questions about in sort of a micro way. Yes, we have the masterclass calls that happen once a month, and just pending on community feedback, right? We want to build this together. We want to build this with each other. Pending on that feedback, we might do it more often. However, for right now, these Thursdays exist simply for answering any questions that you might have regarding your training, your nutrition, your recovery, your body, and all the various aspects that go into training and your performance post-collegiately. We talk about bridging that gap from your playing days to your professional ones. And in part of that, the same training that you did during college, now that you're 25, 30, 35, that training doesn't often work. Your body is very different. So we see this all the time with coaches, right? Those that have transcended their playing days into coaching roles, but yet still trying to train like an athlete. And there's nothing wrong with training for athleticism, training for performance. However, your body's different as it ages, and we need to make sure that our training is adapting appropriately for your body. So that said, as we start to build this out and we get a little bit more engagement with our people, as our community members, as our former athletes in the FAS community, I wanted to I had a couple questions that were emailed in, and I thought I would try to answer them here. I don't think I can load them up on the screen, so I'll just read them off. Hey, coach, can you discuss how training differs without the structure environment of collegiate athletics? So yes, this is a big one, right? So you would know this as a former athlete. Cafeteria is open from, let's say, 9 to noon. You have classes from 1 to 2. You got, athletic training room is opened up at 2:30 to 3:30 so that you can get your ankles taped. And maybe you go into practice at 4, right? Like there's a natural cadence, a natural structure to collegiate athletics. However, here's the kicker. As a professional, your structure differs wildly. It's based around deliverables. It's based around when you need to be in office, if you have family, if you need to pick the kids up from after school. All of these aspects factor into your training schedule. So quite commonly, what we see is we see people either lifting before they go into work. So let's say you work conventional job and you're going into work at 9 a.m. You see a lot of people wake up around 5:30, 6 a.m. They go quickly get into the car. They head to the facility. Maybe they're arriving at 6:30 or 7. They lift from 7 to 8. They have enough time to shower at facility or go back home, and then they get in the office at 9. That's very common. We see that all the time. Now, that said, if you're waking up that early, we need to have some strategies and some habits and some disciplines in check and develop so that when you are arriving in the evening, that you actually have a great sleep routine to allow you to get the necessary sleep to make the most of the next morning. That seems common. You can't burn the candle from both ends metaphorically, right? So we can't be staying up till midnight or 1 watching Netflix or doing whatever that you could get away with as a 18-year-old in college. We can't be doing that and then also waking up early because that's the only convenient time for us to train. That's not appropriate, and you're essentially going to be spinning your wheels and not making the progress that you want to make. So we need to have those habits in check and be able to develop the routines necessary to be able to do that. But to answer this question, you can train in the morning. That's common. That's pretty appropriate. Another alternative to that, if you're like, Coach, I am not a morning person, I can't wake up early, you can train after work. Now, your nutrition needs to be in check as you go through the day. You need to be getting enough calories to fuel an intense training post work. So let's say you have flexible hours, you can get out at 4 p.m. or you can get out at 5 p.m., like a traditional 9 to 5. Then what you'll find if you're a common gym goer is that the gym is usually really busy at that time because everybody's doing that. Everybody's either going before work or after work. So that presents a option for us. We just need to make sure that we're fueling for that. So much of this, how does the training differ question is based around your logistics and your work demands and what other demands you have in life. If you can jet out and have an hour and a half lunch, because you have a flexible boss that allows for that, then maybe you can leave during lunch hour. You can pack a lunch, you can eat it at your desk, or your lunch could be a post-workout shake if you can manage to fuel necessary throughout the morning. Go train during lunch hour, and then come back and go back to work. Yes, you might be, sweaty or whatever, but maybe you got gym showers there and you can certainly shower at the facility. But that question is so dictated by your work demands that you need to make sure that your nutrition is structured sufficiently enough to allow you to fuel enough throughout the day to make the most of your training. Because the last thing you want to do is go into training and you're underfueled. You spend that time, but the effort's not there, the energy's not there, and then you're essentially wasting your time and you're wasting your workout. So phenomenal question for it. But another one is, hey, Coach, can you explain the importance of balancing your strength and your cardio sessions and your mobility post college days? My body's feeling beat up. So great question on that, right? Again, a lot of athletes 18 to 22 years of age probably neglect mobility work. It's just simply not needed so much. Here's the caveat. It is needed. Don't get me wrong. But when you're 18, you're pretty flexible. You're pretty mobile. Like generally, these are just generalistics comments. So a lot of the times athletes, they don't necessarily give enough attention on those things early in their career. They focus on strength, they focus on power, they focus on conditioning. All of those things are immediately evident, whether you have it or not, when you are playing. So that becomes really, really important. That's probably one of the primary things that needs to be addressed, because if not, it's exposed at a very quick level. Now, as your body gets a little bit older, you start to have achy joints. You start to have some mobility issues. You're trying to put on a jacket and you're reaching your shoulder back and you can't get your shoulder in the jacket because your range of motion in your shoulder, or your flexibility throughout your thoracic spine, or mobility throughout your T-spine, that becomes limited. So, I'm not saying that strength isn't important. I'm not saying conditioning isn't important, but as your age creeps up, there's more of a necessity to have mobility work. I once heard, and I don't know, I might be butchering this, but for every decade that you're alive, you should have one dedicated mobility session. Now, that doesn't mean you go to the gym and a full hour of mobility work. Think of it as like 5 to 10 minutes of dedicated mobility work, addressing on a joint by joint approach the various joint regions, if you will, that need mobility or that either lack mobility with age. So let me paint the picture for you. If you can think of an anatomical structure, right, a skeleton from head to toe, we have our head, our cranium, right? We have our cervical spine, we have our thoracic spine, we have our lumbar spine, right? So whether it's cervical, thoracic, or lumbar, sacral down there, typically what we need is it's a series of joints that are alternating in its various needs. Mike Boyle commonly phrased this as a joint by joint approach to mobility and flexibility work. So the thoracic spine desires mobility. I'm trying to think. Cervical spine, stability. Thoracic spine, mobility. The lumbar spine, the big sort of beefy discs of our lumbar spine, stability. Our hips, mobility. Next joint down, our knees, stability. And then our ankles mobility. So how that kind of goes through is that, we probably should be spending for every decade that you're alive, a 5 to 10 minute period throughout the day. You could do it while you're watching TV or Netflix in the evening or playing with your kids. I get on the floor all the time and work on my ankles, and I work on my hip mobility. I work on my thoracic spine, my T-spine rotation type drills. We should be spending a dedicated 5 minutes per every decade. So if you're 20, maybe that's 2 sessions a week. If you're 30, maybe that's three 5 to 10 minute sessions a week. If you're starting to get 40 and 50, you can do the math. So having a little bit more time on mobility work is certainly important, but not if it comes at the expense of adding lean muscle mass. And what I mean by that, we talked about on the introductory sort of call, I'm just trying to listen to what's in the background, having a focus on doing more strength work. We talked about the minimums, right? 2 days a week of resistance work, 2 days a week of conditioning work. I think that's a pretty safe minimum effective dose to start off with. Now, that said, if you only have 2 days a week of train, I would not worry about your mobility first. You need to get into that resistance work and start actually physiologically adding some lean body mass as you're starting to get a little bit older. So that becomes really important as we go through things. I want to try to answer one more question, and that is maintaining accountability, right? So had a question that came in that talked about, hey, is there any strategies for staying consistent? So there's the Bridge Athletic app, right? And we talked about that in the reward structure of this program. The top engaging participant each month, each 30 days, will get free access to that Bridge app. I will enroll you. You get to choose your program that you want to do. That is your exclusive perk for being the top participant in the Former Athlete Society. Now, what else is cool? This is what I use. Oh, here we go. Let's did this last time. This is a logbook. I write down every single workout I do. Every single one. And I write down the weights that I did, the reps that I achieved. And then every week, as I repeat this workout, as I go back and I look at it, I review it. Oh, Adam, you did 315 pounds and you did it for 6 reps and your target's 10 reps. When I go into this workout, progressive overload, I need to try to either increase the weight or I need to increase the repetitions. And if my target's 10 and I'm underachieving that, then my goal is to get one more rep every workout. 1 to 2 more reps every single workout until I reach that target range for 10 reps. Let's just use that as an example. So what do I do when I get 10 reps and I achieve the target? Then I move the weight up. My target's still 10. I move the weight up 5 to 10 pounds. Then what happens? I underachieve the rep target. I'm at 8 or I'm at 6. And then what do I do the next workout? I try to get 7 or 8. And then maybe I get 8. What do I do the next workout? I try to get 9. A 10. What do I do when I get that 10th? I achieve the target. I move the weight up again. So I meticulously write down all of my workouts only because it allows me to stay accountable. I know what I did last time. I know what I did 2 months ago. I know what I did a year ago. And I can, over the course of time, look at my repetitions. I can look at my weight. I can track that. I can say, Adam, I went from 135 pounds to 405 pounds. You've increased your weight. If you're on our Bridge Athletic app, the system will do that natively. You can always look at an exercise. You can always see the longitudinal increases and decreases throughout training. It will tell you what you ended up approving your max. So that's all baked into the application. It's really novel as far as the analytics that it kicks back out to you. You know what you did last time. You know how many reps you did last time. That's all in the system and the history of the app. So every single time you enter something into it, there's documentation about what you do. But if you don't use the app, then I highly recommend getting a logbook. This is a simple notebook, and I write down every single thing I did. So I'm going to conclude it here. It's 15 minutes. That's what these are. Just quick Q&A. Again, Former Athlete Society. You can go over at adamringler.com/school. Figure out if it's for you. Obviously, if you're watching, you're probably enrolled. You're probably one of the first 10 people because in the early days, we're building this community. But if not, this is what we do every Thursday. I come on, I answer your questions. I had some that were emailed in, but otherwise, you're here. You could just pop in. You can, put it in the chat, and I will answer it in real time for you, because that's what I'm trying to do with this Former Athlete community, the Former Athlete Society, is answer your questions so you get the answers that you need to set yourself up for success. So next time I'll see you is most likely Tuesday on the accountability call. Appreciate y'all. Take care.